All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the HHC podcast. I am your host, Jacob Moreno, and I'm here with my brothers, Juan and Chris. Juan, how's your spring break been?
Relax, I guess.
Sorry, you were muted. Sorry about that.
It's been all right. I was relaxing.
Hey, there we go, there we go. And Chris, what about you, man? How's your spring break? You're also muted, Chris.
You know how that goes. It's been good. It's been good. I had a list of things that I wanted to get done, and so naturally I did very few of those things. Um, but got to spend some time with family and relax a little bit. There's a lot of Spurs ball to watch, so overall it was pretty good.
Yeah, no, I saw you. I saw you hanging out with our nephew Jax playing pool the other day. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I
Um,
needed a good 14-hour nap yesterday to kind of recover from just watching one kid.
I bet, man. He's a lot. He's a lot. But yeah, no. Definitely a lot of Spurs ball happening. My spring break was I like to say it was pretty productive. I was did everything that I wanted to do just in terms of like keeping myself active while still being able to have like a nice little mental break. Um,
Yeah,
my Xbox has
I
been.
saw those little clips that you were sending us. You getting to get out into the wreck and take some shots.
Hmm. No, it was fun. It was fun. I was working on my game. I was trying to do before I had sent the little clips to my brothers. I was trying to do like little spin layups, because I've just seen some people on the court doing them. I was like, man, like if I could get a little spin layup, that'd be kind of nice. And I don't know, man, my hips aren't flexible enough. After like a couple tries, my hips started to like hurt from like trying to like turn my body as much as I was doing. I was just like,
You gotta like stay in the paint and just like focus on the hip placement and like, okay, when I'm taking this step, this is the kind of the movement I want to feel or whatever.
mm-hmm. No,
Start
exactly,
throwing
but
those legs around wildly. That's when you get tired.
mm-hmm. No kidding. So I was doing my thing during the spring break, but so with Spurs. The Spurs were also kind of they were out there being competitive, which was the best thing for me. And we come onto this podcast every Sunday at the 10 a.m.s to bring to you guys Spurs talks on all three platforms of Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. All three of which that if you do follow if you do find us when we're live, at the set times, there the VODs will be on all three platforms right thereafter. If even if you can't catch us when we are live, make sure that you do follow us on Twitter at Heroes Half Court, where we do talk about the Spurs on the new daily. We love having the Spurs Twitter engagement. We love talking about the San Antonio Spurs whenever and wherever we are. So reach out to us. We enjoy having the Spurs discourse. Um, but as you know, this week we had four games. We had a lot of fun stuff to talk about, and then obviously within this next week coming up, 2 days specifically, we're playing against Atlanta. Dejounte's getting his return. He's been in San Antonio. He's already gotten a little bit of press release and stuff like that. And so there's been a little bit of discourse about that we'll definitely get into here later today. But before we get into both of those things, we do have another week of Jake's weekly trivia. Around every so often, whenever I have two or more brothers on the show, try to get a little bit of trivia in to test these guys' knowledge, see if they can remember some things, if they really pay attention to our team. And so it's been a nice week for us. Pretty much what I'm going to be talking about today, some of these guys in their thought processes. I'm going to be talking about us in the month of March. So we're about 3 weeks into March. Sorry, we are 3 weeks into March right now, and so we have quite a couple games that we were able to talk about and be able to kind of show off. Like this has been us through the month of March, and so with my first question, and this is points per game. This is points per game. With my first question, I want you guys to guess how many points per game Zach Collins has been averaging in the month of March. Zach's been killer this month. I think everybody knows that Zach's been killer this month. He's been he's been doing his thing, and it's been a treat to see because I know for sure myself I was definitely lower on Zach going into the trade deadline once before Jakob got traded and things like that, where we had we just didn't have a lot going for us at the time, and Zach, I felt like wasn't necessarily adding to it. So far through the year, Zach's been averaging 11.1 points, but we know that Zach's been doing a lot more than just 11 points per game through the month of March. So uh, yeah, um, he's been killer. He's been killer. So Juan, you had your hand up first, so I want you to guess how many points per game Zach Collins had in the month of
I guessed 17.8.
17.8. Yeah, man, he's been doing his thing. So that's not a far reach, you know. And Chris, what's your score?
I went a little higher, um, 19.8.
So Chris goes with the near 20. Juan goes with the 17.8. Those are both pretty good guesses. Chris, you were almost on the dot, man. That was 19 points exactly. So
Point zero.
Chris was, yeah,
Mm.
19.0. So it wasn't too far off. And he's been doing his thing. Now the next thing is that Zach Collins has been shooting 52.6% from the field. So he's been shooting pretty well, from as of recently. What percentage is Zach Collins shooting from three?
Mm.
Again, he's been shooting 52%, 52.6% from the field through the month of March. And um, and so we know that he's been shooting the three ball a lot more. He's been shooting 5.2 attempts from the field through the month of March, and that's a lot more than what he's been doing through the year. Through the year, Zach has been averaging 2.2 attempts on 38.7% from three. But right now he's uh, attempting almost, or yeah, he's attempting five threes per game. So he's been doing his thing, man. It's been, again, like I said earlier, it's been a sight to see. Um, but yeah, as Chris is getting down his answer, Juan, what do you think his 3 point percentage has been?
41.3.
41.3. Yeah, that's a good number. And Chris,
I'm pretty close actually to Juan's. I said 41.5.
41.5. Yeah, man, both of those are really good answers considering 40% 3 point shooter has been killer, right? Zach Collins has been averaging 51.6% from three.
What the heck?
So he's making half of his attempts from three this month, and that's like just got to shout him out, man. Just got to show that Zach Collins has been doing his thing through the month of March, and it's been good to see him provide quality starter quality minutes when we didn't think that was going to come from him at all.
So he's been shooting 52 from the field and 51 from three, at least in the
Yes,
month.
yes, in the month of March. So he's been doing his thing. He has gotten, like, again, 5.2 attempts from three. He's been averaging 13 attempts from the field. So I mean, 6.8 field goals made on 13 attempts. That's just been good, man. Zach has been killer. He's been one of the only people that's in our positive plus minuses through the month of March. So when he's on the floor, he's been playing good ball. Now, my next question is: we know that Zach Collins is one of many double-digit scorers on this team. How many double-digit point per game scorers do we have in the month of March? I just want a number here. We have a couple people that are borderline 10, borderline double-digit guys. I didn't put them in there, uh, but Trey Jones been putting up 9.8 points per game. So in his couple games that he's been trying to come back from, he's been trying to do his thing. He's averaging a lot of assists, 6.2. Uh, Bassi, before the unfortunate injury, was putting up 8 points per game. Mamu has 7.4 points per game, so that's been good to see him see him being able to provide some quality minutes, even though he just got here. Um, but yeah, we have quite an amount of people being double-digit scores in the month of March. It's been fun to watch through this the last couple weeks, man. And again, we'll be getting into the weekly discourse here in a little bit, talking about just like the last four games that have come up for us. But man, um, when this team is on one, whenever we're healthy and stuff like that, we are looking good. So, but Chris, you have your answer? How many double-digit scores do you think we have?
7.
Seven. Okay, so Chris says seven. Juan, how many do you say?
6.
Six. Okay. Now, this isn't gonna go to to how many points you can get, but who do y'all think? Who do y'all think is in that range? Because I think we know, like, we have like our consensus, right? We know that like Zach, Keldon, Devin, those guys are all in the double digits. But who do y'all think are pretty much your double digit scores? Um,
Um, Let me see. KJ, Dev, uh, Zach, Jeremy. Um, who? I don't even know how many. I don't know. I guessed when I said 7, so I'm
so then,
putting.
I mean, just off the top of your head, Chris, go ahead and just start kind of naming some people that you think would be the double digit players.
Well, my what the thing that makes me hesitant is always just who's playing. You know what I mean? And remembering like, oh yeah, I forgot this guy played this game, but then he missed this game, and then he played 2 games and he missed a game, or whatever. So I mean, like Graham could be on that list easy. Doug could be on that list easy. I just don't remember if they've missed time or not. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be 5, 6 right there. And then I would throw in another big man. I know you said Charles was not. Oh, KBD is probably on there if he's been playing more. I could see him being on that list.
Wow. And then Juan, do you think you have any names to add?
I mean, I kind of just put Keldon, Zach, Jeremy, Devin, Malachi in my head, and I just added an extra one because I just didn't know. And then, of
Yeah.
course, you asked who are the actual people, but
Yeah.
I just still
And
wanted extra.
and Malachi's an obvious one
Hmm.
too. And I didn't say Malachi.
Yeah. See, so y'all pretty much named them all. You pretty much got them all. But there's eight double digit scorers on this team. And so yeah, Chris, you pretty much got everybody down and then added, once you add Malachi, then that was the eighth, right? We have Keldon at 19.8, Zach at 19, Devontae's at 18, Jeremy at 17.4, Devin at 14.3, Kate at 12, Doug at 11, and Malachi at 10.5. So, we have eight double digit scorers, which has been nice to see because it's one of those things where, like, exactly like what Chris was saying, whenever you don't whenever somebody's not on the court for their game, you're like, well, who's going to play, like what's how our rotation's going to be and stuff like that. Devontae never sees the court whenever everybody's healthy, but when one person's injured, then he starts to see, or whenever one guard's injured, he starts to see the court a little bit more. And he's been averaging 18 points per game in the six that he's played. So he's been, again, like stuff like that where we're kind of just filling in whenever we can, but we have guys that are filling in pretty well. KBD is the same thing with 12 points per game. Whenever we have injuries as well, because he's another guy that's just not been seeing the floor whenever we're fully healthy. So it's it's been, again, like it's been a good sight to see from our guys through the month of March, because I feel like even though we're losing games, even though we're losing winnable games, we're playing good ball. We're playing good ball through most of it. So we that could kind of move us into our weekly discourse. I talk about what this last week looked like, and Chris, I'm gonna let you start this off because we had a tough loss against Memphis, but we also had like a good game against Orlando. I liked the game. I didn't get to watch it, but I liked seeing a little bit of the stuff from the Mavericks game, and then obviously not being able to pull it out in overtime. But that was fine in my opinion because we looked decent through those 4 quarters. So, Chris, what is some stuff that you like, some stuff that you didn't like from this week of ball throughout?
Yeah. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I forgot to do my wired connection before we started, so it was kind of coming in and out a little bit during that. But starting early in the week, just exactly what you said, right? Like you get a 20 point game from Devonte Graham on a night where Blake Wesley, Malachi Branham, and Romeo, who got 26 minutes that night, combined for 4 points between the three of them, right? So just kind of stepping in and having his moments when we need him. I mean, we lost the game obviously, but it just feels like this week was probably one of the better weeks for seeing like deep performances. You know what I mean? From guys that are on our 6 through 10, 11. Seeing production from all those guys. We were able to have good games. Oh dang! I didn't mean to click away from that. We were able to have good games. Like I'm trying to find. I think it's the Dallas game where it's just production all the way down the line. Yeah, 27 for Keldon, 17 for Romeo, 10 for Mamu, 13 for Trey and Graham, and then you get 6 and 9 from Barlow and Doug. So like that was probably the best thing to see this week, is just that it felt like we had a lot of our guys with us. You know what I mean? So it was just I think that's kind of the thing that I had said at the end of last week was I'm just excited that we got to see a lot of Spurs basketball. Right? It was 4 games, and luckily for us, we got to see a lot of bodies out on the court too. So. I'll keep it general right there, and let Juan talk, and then I'm gonna go and try to grab my wire real quick so I can fix my connection a little bit.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the what I liked was that when we broke the 3-point record against Orlando, that was a pretty fun night because like everybody was just letting it fly and it was pretty contagious. Like the ball movement and the efficiency from deep. I think Bill Land mentioned that like everybody who took a three that night made one. That was a really fun game, and that was coming like off the. I think maybe we had lost the game before that, but we won like 3 out of 4 at one point. That was coming off a good win against Denver. There was just some good moments like early in the week, and even the losses like the Dallas game. I feel like we could have won. Keldon just did not close out the game as efficiently as you would hope, and it let Dallas kind of slip right back into it, force overtime, and then obviously we lost in overtime. So for a lot of Team Tank fans, it was a good week for playing well, the young guys doing some really good stuff, but then losing because the Memphis game was exactly the same way. You're up 30, you're kind of, walking all over Memphis for like the first 2.5 quarters of the game, and you just let that one slip away. But like Chris said, you look at the box score and you go, oh well, we did enough to win. Everybody played well enough, both the Dallas and the Memphis game, and you still find ways to lose those games. It's pretty frustrating to like watch. But like we've said like all year, there's a lot of good in both. You can find good in winning, you can find good in losing because we passed Houston up in the tank race. I think we have the second worst odds right now, or second best odds for the number 1 pick, even though they're all 14%. But like, it was just a good week of like having the guys play. I like what Chris said. Like, we had all our bodies, and when 1 or 2 guys would miss, you could still see that there was just a lot of people who could step in and play well. I would like to see more out of Devin Vassell. I want him to play a little bit more comfortable. He looked nice against, I think, Memphis. He was like hitting a couple of runners like off the glass.
Yeah.
He just hasn't had like the explosion game yet, like since he came back from injury. Or he had 25, I guess, against Memphis, but like I don't know. I
This is
just
a quiet
in my
25.
eyes,
Yeah.
I view him like as a more of a pure scorer than Keldon, and so then I would expect him to score more than what Keldon throws up, and Keldon finishes with like in that 20 range a little bit more regularly at this point. But I still love what I see from Malachi. Malachi looks so smooth. I know we had that discussion about like what rank is he on this team. Is he better than Trey Jones? Like, if the year keeps going and he finishes the year off, this consistently, throwing up the stuff he does, I like the lineups we run where he's basically taking Trey's spot in the starting lineup, and we don't really have a point guard in that lineup, even though there's a bunch of people who can handle the ball because Malachi does well playmaking. He finds the guy. He still makes a lot of rookie mistakes, but I mean, like, or when he makes mistakes, that's what I classify them as. I'm like, he's just a rookie. Like he's learning through it, like obviously. And
It's funny.
I
It's
love
funny
I love
whenever
what I see
he.
from him.
Yeah, it's so funny whenever he makes his little mistake, and you just see him like, like like he like kind of like brings his hands right up to his head, like, dang, did I what could I have done or something like that. It's funny because he just like they like zoom in right on him, and he's just like, like
Yeah,
man. And so it's been very nice to see Malachi do his thing, and I agree. Like I've been enjoying the lineup through the week as well of seeing Malachi start and seeing Jeremy be our primary ball handler. Um, it makes Jeremy's game look a lot better whenever he's the only person that is technically the only non-spacer on the floor, but he's not afraid to shoot it either. So when we have five guys out there that are just not afraid to shoot the three ball at all, it makes that starting lineup look pretty decent. And then Trey still comes off the bench and looks spectacular in space whenever we're out
solid.
there running. So
I wouldn't
I
say spectacular. That's a strong
I
word.
I feel like when we're in transition, Trey Jones, like he always has the right play in mind. So it's always something that I enjoy seeing when it comes to Trey. Um,
Yeah,
and
he
I
and
think.
he's kind of like Dev, like he's still also coming back and trying to find his rhythm and trying to find it in a different lineup than he was in when he was originally with us, or you know what I mean, like at the beginning of the year. So give him time, give him patience, give Dev time, give Dev patience, and we'll see how
Mhm.
how it's pulling out from there. I like what you're saying too about like having Jeremy out there, even though he's you don't know him as the 3-point shooter just yet. You still feel like everybody in the camp is really having a lot of time into his offensive development. So you just feel like it's gonna come along too, right? You just you're like, well, I feel like we could do that. We could get him there. He seems like he has the drive for it. So yeah, we can get him there. So it just makes you feel better about when the ball swings to him. You're like, well, shoot it, versus the other feelings we had for how many years of having the guys, or even just Trey a couple years ago, right? Where it was like when Trey would catch it, and you're like, oh no. Now at least you have the mindset of the same kind of thing, like he's putting in the time and just let it fly.
Mhm.
I will say I talked about it when the trade deadline happened a little bit. I think I made like an off comment, just like real quick, that in the couple games like leading up to the trade deadline, we had played Zach. The Jakob had like sat out for whatever reason, and like it just felt like the spacing was a little bit more smooth for the offense, and you can clearly see a lot of the 3-point shots are up. A lot of the spacing, and he's a part of that too. Zach, you talked about him shooting 50% from three, but that's just like, yeah, he might not add the same defense that Yak does, and teams still roll right into us. Like the Memphis game, Keldon was matched up against Jaren Jackson, and there was no rim protection like to help Keldon. Like it was just a layup for Jaren every time, and like yeah, so you probably would still want like some rim protection, but Zach has afforded this team a little bit like more freedom on the offensive end, um, and while still providing that same inside presence, a little bit of that inside presence that Yak does, like not the enforcer, not the bruiser type, but like just scoring from the post, or not afraid to attack the rim from his spot. But then yeah, the rest of the offense just is like there's more driving lanes. It's the new offense, the modern offense in the NBA, the 5 out 3-point
Mm-hmm.
shooting stuff. So like to me, it's just like kind of been like apparent. Like you can see like a lot of the efficiency to Malachi and to Keldon's game just like off of that. Even like Blake Wesley's have had a nice couple of drives and just like dishes out to the wing where there's just shooters everywhere, and Zach is one of them. And so that's just something that's I've seen.
I wonder what's the like solution though, in the sense of, you said like, yeah, you probably want some rim protection, but it's like you kind of you need it, right? Especially when you're trying to think how can we play in a similar fashion of how we're playing now, but we need to be able to win games. We need to be able to compete against the best of the best, and the best of the best have size at the five. You know what I'm saying? Still, so like I agree. I've liked the ball moving around, and I know Zach brings a lot of that from from his offensive standpoint. It's just the defensive part that I'm still not.
I
That
mean, we got lucky Memphis didn't have Steven Adams
Yeah,
because
exactly. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
it would
That
have
that
been
game would have
both of
been.
them. Yeah, it would have been
Yeah.
both of them, and it would have just thrown all of us around, especially after Jeremy leaves the game
Yeah.
early on.
Yeah. You're right. I'm just curious. I mean, I do like in a season like this where everything has to be taken as a lesson, and okay, whatever. At the end of the day, our end goal is not to play past the postseason anyway. Um, I guess like okay, we're taking away a little bit of our rim protection. That puts a little bit more onus on guys like Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson and Jeremy to defend better on the perimeter, to defend better in a man-to-man setting, and those kind of things. You know what I mean? So from that point of view, I like how it's going to hopefully bolster our guys so that we can just defend better. But I still want to have okay, you're working your hardest to stop them, but on those times that it doesn't work, this is our our last line. So. I still feel like there's a different way to go later on, but
Yeah,
I do
it's
appreciate. I mean, I feel like I've been
Wembanyama.
saying, yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like I've been saying for the past like 3 weeks now, like, oh yeah, this is probably my favorite game from Zach. Oh yeah, this is my favorite game from Zach. And I don't know if any of these games I would say were like my favorite game. I can't like nothing jumps into my brain right now that says that. But I mean, again, 23-11 against OKC. 25 6-5 against Orlando, had good showings against both Dallas and Memphis. I'm pretty sure.
20 plus on against Memphis for sure. I remember that.
Oh, I don't think he didn't play. He didn't play against the Mavericks. Yeah, see, it's always so hard to tell. Just like, oh yeah, he missed one game in the middle of these or whatever. So yeah, he's been doing great. I don't want to discredit any of the effort he's been putting in, and he just looks more and more comfortable. But I could see him sliding in and making our second unit fly. You know what I'm saying? Which would be cool. So I'm happy for the things that I've seen it.
I loved Yak and everything he brought defensively, but just on this team and this role like that he could have had, I expected him not to be 25 points a game because he was never an offensive guy, but I always wanted him to be like what Yak or what Zach is right now, like 17 and 10 or 18 and 10. You know what I mean? And that's what I wanted out of like Yak at the center position, especially because we lacked so much talent that like somebody step up, and it's just cool to see Zach like scoring this efficiently because there were times this year where I was just like man, we cannot play Zach Collins sometimes. Like he would
Yeah.
come off the bench and couldn't score and couldn't defend, and it's just cool to see him step into the role and be like just not afraid. And he's never been afraid of like the other people, and that's what I like. He brings an intensity for the guys. Um, but yeah, it is like what you said, Chris. Like, yeah, you get some offensive boost, but like it can't be a long term solution because like if you imagine going into the playoffs, like and obviously not this team, but like you're matched up against one series against Phoenix, and they have DeAndre Ayton and like Kevin Durant, and they're both like attacking the rim. Like, what are you going to do against that? Or you go against Memphis with Jaren Jackson and Steven Adams, or you go against LA with Anthony Davis. Like, there is just some bigs like
Yeah.
in the conference that you have to compete with, like in the West, and we have to get somebody like that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
No, I agree, and I feel like one thing that Chris, you were talking about it earlier, and I'll kind of bring it in, which is like the perimeter defense. I feel like that could be something that we really do need to work on in order to bolster the interior. Um, one of the things that I saw through the Memphis game that really frustrated me at the end of the night was Devin's defense on Desmond Bain. Like I was happy to see that Devin was the one that was like taking up that battle, but he was also getting cooked by Desmond Bain pretty much in the clutch. And so it was just like it was one of those things where I was just like, man, like you have all the tools to be one of the better perimeter defenders on this team, and like it's only one game, and obviously he's coming back from an injury, you know, I'm always going to be one to defend Devin before I am one to criticize him. But that does not mean that he is not like open to criticism as well. Like it is one thing where I was like watching that game and I was just like, man, like Jaren Jackson Jr. was already one problem. Now Desmond Bane's like hitting three after three after three, and Devin's not affecting his shot at all. So that was like one of my things where I was just like I was like a little frustrated seeing Devin's defense on that. Dylan Brooks was having his way as well, and that was also a thing where I wasn't too happy seeing that, because again, like at the beginning of the game, I saw Keldon yapping at Dylan Brooks, and you're seeing like, oh man, this is gonna be like they're gonna be going at each other all night. But then it felt like Keldon just like started like as soon as I don't know, I just felt like through the game Keldon just like was just like going downhill like in terms of like his intensity, and Dylan Brooks was just coming up with that intensity. So then
Yeah,
it felt like Dylan Brooks was able to punk Keldon at the end of the night, and I was
it's
not happy
always
thinking about that.
it's always tough when you hit them hard and you hit them hard really early, because then it's like now you got to sustain for a long time. And even though you build a cushion, and you might be feeling good about stuff, but if that cushion is slowly dwindling, it's just nonstop. Like it's just like slow affirmations to Memphis along the way, or has the potential, right, of like that slow building momentum. Or it can start to feel like a slow burn for you, like, dang, we're losing. Oh, dang, it's slipping away. Oh, dang, it's slipping away. And that is kind of how the energy felt, right? We had such great energy, and if you choose to use your energy in that way and start talking a little bit, that's fine. You know what I mean? I love the competitiveness. I want our division matchups to matter, and in the grand scheme of things, talking about needing to be a better a competing team, you have to win division games to compete in the conference. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna have to beat Dallas in the future, and Memphis and New Orleans, and you know what I'm saying. So I like the fire at it, but yeah, what you said, you know what I'm saying. We just when it was time to turn it back on, or when it was time to push back against that, it was like we weren't. I don't even say it's like we didn't. I don't know if it's like we didn't have the energy. It just felt like we didn't have the focus.
Yeah.
In
We
go
have
ahead.
29 points, like right there at the end of the third quarter, and you give up it's like a 10-0 run to end the third, and then it was like a 10-point game to start the fourth, just like that. And yeah, like exactly what you said. It was just like the focus just went away, and Sean Elliott kept talking about it. He was like, well, he was. You could tell Sean
Yeah,
was.
he was, and they were like kind of cracking jokes a little bit, and Michelle and Bill, and Sean was not having it.
Yeah, because he was like, every time we would turn the ball over or take a terrible shot, he was just like, he's like, we got to just do what got us here. We got to do what got us here, and he was ticked off, and I was mad. So Jake said something about like Desmond Bain like taking advantage and going off. I do not feel that way at all. I feel like he just hit like a timely shot in the fourth, and Dylan Brooks is the same way. Like he hit the tying three to send it to overtime, but and like the dagger three, but like they weren't dominating us at all. And Desmond Bain did not dominate Devin Vassell at all. He only made 1 3 in the whole night, and it's just like, I don't know. That's why it ticked me off. It's like they didn't dominate us. Jaren Jackson had a good game. He was going right into the paint, but everybody else did not, and we still lost the game.
And the run happens like you said at the end of the third, and that's when you're getting like Kenneth Lofton Jr. gives you 11 points, Luke Kennard gives you 13 points, and Tyus Jones was kind of leading a little spurt of that too. So you start to open it up, and you let their role players come in, start to feel a little rhythm. A lot of that run was happening, and their starters were on the bench hyping them up. You know what I'm saying? So we did the absolute worst, which is we let the bench guys get in, and at a moment when that's when you really can put it on them and blow the game open. I think Sean had said that too. He goes, we were right on the door of blowing this game open, and instead it went the other way. And it's, you know what I mean, it's in that moment, and it's just recognizing that, I guess, you know what I'm saying. I don't know how much Pop talks about that kind of stuff while you're in the game. I would have, and he, they might just be yelling at them in the timeout, saying this exact stuff. You cannot let up, and then they go out and still kind of have that or whatever. But yeah, it is frustrating to see those kind of things, but I don't know. I try my best to be like, well, at least we're getting a chance to try to learn these lessons, which is being competitive in a game that feels like it matters. You know what I'm saying? And we just haven't had. We this is the best chance that we get to learn those kind of things. So at least we get those opportunities, I guess.
Yep.
No, I honestly, I like one of the things that like really frustrated me when it came to, like, I guess, like the timely buckets was just the fact that the defense wasn't there. Like, I guess that's like kind of where I was saying that Desmond Bain was dominating Devin at the end of the game, was because it was just like, again, well, he wasn't playing good all night, or he wasn't. I mean, he was fine or whatever, but he wasn't, like, again, like Juan said, 1-3 the entire night when he's supposed to be a 3-point specialist. Like stuff like that, where it's like we were doing so good for 3 quarters, and then when it finally came into the clutch and we needed a defensive stop, that's when it wasn't happening. Now, again,
Yeah.
to Devin's credit, he was also hitting timely buckets in the clutch. Like he was doing his thing in that fourth quarter as well when it came to scoring. You know, and I tweeted it out, like, some of his little, like, he was changing up his game through the last couple weeks, because he's starting to take a little bit more bank shots. Do his, just kind of change up from what he was used to doing right at the beginning of the season. And so again, for me, it was just one of those things where I was like, man, I feel like just a better perimeter defensive game from us would have been able to help. But again, there is also other factors to it. If Jeremy's playing, then I think the game goes a lot more smoothly than it did, and it already was going well for us for two
Yes, and,
two
and that's
quarters
and that's
after he was
that's
gone.
that's the big point. I mean, we went from Jeremy and all the things that he's bringing on the defensive end, and what you're saying about, like, feeling like you're lapsing in those big moments defensively. Well, if they're bleeding you out and they're beating you on the offensive end with their momentum and all those kind of things, then or maybe they're making you feel uncomfortable, or the momentum is making you feel a little tight as a team on the offensive end. Well, then somebody's got to lock down and commit to getting a stop on this end. You know what I'm saying? So I understand that part, but yeah, it's night and day what Jeremy's lineup looked like versus Gorgie and you know
Oh
what I'm saying.
yeah,
So
Exactly. That's
that was
exactly
another
what I was
thing.
gonna
In the
say.
third quarter, we were like running like a lineup of like Gorgie, Barlow,
yeah, it was bad.
Mamu. It was
It was
just
so
like,
bad.
yeah, it just was not good. And
So
yeah,
so so that's the kind of stuff though, and that's the kind of stuff that it makes me. It's disappointing to see because it feels at that point like a tank move. It feels like a coach's decision, right? And the Jeremy stuff, I think he had tweaked a leg or something like that.
Both him
But
and Kata, both him and Kata were having good games. They're both having solid games, and
yeah,
then they both
and so
get hit with the injury, and so.
so you understand it from that point, but also yeah, it does, like, I don't know, it makes you want to be like, oh well, okay, it's hard to put too much on your team when you know that they're running like an incomplete version of what they want to do or something like that. You try to have those like excuse kind of feelings towards your guys, but at the same time, like I tweeted out, like at the same time through all of that, whether it be because you built such a big cushion or because you were good enough to sustain that lead until the end of the regulation, you had enough to still try to find a way to win the game. And so
yeah,
you got to do it. If whether you're Dev, whether you're Kevin, I mean Keldon, or anybody who, if you got the shot, man.
yep.
No, exactly. And so, I mean, we understand that, like even though it was a frustrating game, there were still some positives that we were able to take out of it. But then there's also some things that you critique and you figure out how to improve and move on from it. So
Yeah,
obviously,
Mamu has been great this whole time too. Like in all of these, and no matter what position we put him in, he finds ways to be productive. He had a freaking turnaround, goes into his shot last second, throws it for an assist, and I don't even think his teammate knew it was coming. Like always, just making very smart plays. That's another guy who like just through all this, you're ready to see us plug him in meaningful positions. You know what I'm saying? So there's been good to find.
Exactly. And so, that does move us into what next week's gonna look like. And honestly, the biggest thing that we do want to bring up from this week, which is today at 3 o'clock, we'll be playing against Atlanta. and that'll be the return of Dejounte Murray to San Antonio. And so there's been a little bit of discourse through this last couple of days, just about Dejounte and him coming back. You know, he had like a little press release talking about his little like just like his comments from before the beginning of the season, through the season, his little like just stuff like that. You know, like he just kind of came in, had a little interview, talked about San Antonio for a little bit, right? And and so I've been seeing a little bit of discourse about people just not liking the fact that Dejounte is like going from saying one thing, then saying like he'll say one bad thing, then he'll say one good thing, then he'll say one bad thing, he'll say one good thing. And Juan, I know you were a big fan of Dejounte when he was here. I'm sure you still are, but what are your thoughts on the whole situation as kind of bring it to a wrap with his um, return to San Antonio today?
Yeah, when we talked about it earlier in the year, I said a lot of his comments sounded like somebody who's still, yeah, like hurt. He is a, it's a business or whatever they want to say, but it still hurts and it's still, there's a lot of emotional ties. And just to be told, like, all right, we don't want to go forward with you anymore. Like, I'm sure that's all very painful. So I understood everything he said. It was basically like a bad breakup, and he just was emotional about it, and that's exactly what he said in his comments yesterday or the other day, talking about. I don't think he quite out flat out said like, yeah, I might have been a little too emotional, but he said like there are emotions, you know what I mean? Like this
Mm-hmm.
happens, and like they expect us athletes to be like a certain way, and we can't act certain ways. He's like, but it is what it is. Like it was emotional at the time. He never like straight up like apologized. I don't think in what I saw like for any of the
Yeah.
comments he made. They asked him directly about like the for 15 years you guys are gonna you know be bad at, but he clearly was just like I was, it was just in the heat of the moment emotions. And we've always known Dejounte to be like a guy like that. He's always posted things and deleted things right away. Um, just in the heat of the moment, he'll say something and he'll take it back because, like any sane person, like you're allowed to just go, oh, you know what? I don't, that was just emotional, or like that was in the heat of the moment, or this was that. Like he's allowed to just change his mind and feel certain ways. Um, like so, I don't know, just I never had any ill will towards him, especially like any of the comments he made. Watching the podcast he had with Steven Jackson, was a lot of the same things. It was just like, um, you could kind of tell Steven Jackson was kind of egging him on and wanting him to say some negative things about San Antonio, and if he might have leaned into it a certain way, like I feel like that's just like the environment he might have been in, but he's never really said anything too terrible outside of, I guess, like that 15-year comment. And even then, like I understood, like, all right, well, that's just, he's just mad, he's upset, because he felt like the team gave up on him, which they did. Like they didn't think he was good enough. So I'm happy to see him back. I got my Dejounte Murray jerseys, and I'll keep those forever. I really like him as a player, and I like him as a person. The way the comments he made, and the way he goes about things, I do feel like when he has like the time to like say something that he's definitely thought about, you could see how, like, I guess it's kind of funny. Like he makes those heat of the moment things, but you could see like how emotionally mature he is when he responds to certain things. Like he's not like wild in any sense like that. Like yeah, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I just really like enjoyed hearing his little comments that he made the other day, because it felt like he was just like he's gonna hold that forever. Like they got rid of me, and that's fine. That's that athlete, that chip on the shoulder stuff. But at the same time, to me, I felt like he was like, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like I was a little emotional about it, or like my feelings were hurt or whatever, and that's what I took out of it. Is like that's why he made those comments.
Yeah, and he's equally able to compartmentalize. Like, I do feel this way about that, and he said like what you said. He didn't really apologize. In fact, he said like I I'm allowed to have my feelings about it, and I'm not going to change what I said about that. Like he even said, like that was him addressing it. You know what I'm saying? He said, I'm not going to change it. That's just my experience. He goes, I'm not going to change my experience. You know what I'm saying? So agreed. He has the right to feel that way. But he's able to compartmentalize that part of his relationship with San Antonio, and also the part of saying, like, San Antonio, he said, like, San Antonio gave me the opportunity that nobody else did. And I'll forever be grateful for that. I'll forever have respect and for a guy like Pop. And he talked about Pop being a father figure and the things that he learned and is still kind of learning, you know. And most of those things were outside of the basketball court. You know what I'm saying? So all the things that we talk about that we have pride in, he seemed to recognize them from our organization and feel like he was bestowed those things to, you know what I mean, and was trying to be taught those things along his journey with us too. So, I know you didn't ask me, but but I'll be excited for him to come from the basketball point of view, from the competitive point of view. I know how he is as a competitor. I want it to be a competitive game. I want to try to win the game too. You know what I'm saying? Like all of that. They might not. Trae Young is day to day. I think it said he's questionable for today. We'll see. I think, are going to be without a few people, right? Probably, at least one of them that feels like, dang, if we just had this guy, at least we'd have a competent group. And usually that's how the IRs check out. But I still want it to be a competitive game. But just in terms of the Dejounte stuff, I sit right with Juan. Like he has all the rights, to feel the way he feels. And in the age that we're living in now, it's like let people have the room to clarify or to just speak on a different day when they're feeling a different way. You know what I'm saying? And that's okay. That's all right. So
that's another. The San Antonio fans, they are just so like there's a lot of people who are just like kind of like blind to it. Like they just want to hate him because he made the one comment, and they refuse to accept any other comments he makes. And then the Steven Jackson interview didn't help. They pulled out like certain snippets of that too to find more ways to hate on it. And so like, I mean, that's a lot of people, right? Like they don't allow you to change your opinion. There's no way you can feel the same or feel any different than you did 5 years ago, like on the topic, right? Like,
yeah.
So that's just kind of the world we live in.
Yeah, and it is tough. I mean, like if you're a casual fan and you only really check out little tiny things, then maybe that is like you know what I'm saying? I'll be honest, like I think about internet culture and not try to get roped into the small soundbite part of it, right? And all that kind of stuff. But even when I heard the Mind Games quote or soundbite the first time, the clip, my first reaction was a little bit more on the negative side. As soon as I watched the bigger picture, it immediately switched. But just like, you know what I mean? So I can see how somebody who the last thing they heard from Dejounte was the you won't be successful in X amount of whatever, and then they kind of just squashed it in their brain. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they were like, whatever with him. And then the next thing you see about Dejounte Murray is him on a podcast talking with the guy that also kind of talks about the Spurs in a certain way, saying these things. You know what I'm saying? Like I can see it, but just dive a little deeper.
Yeah,
it's in there.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And go ahead, Juan.
Well, I was gonna say, and like, you, as a person, you just got to realize, like, yeah, if he's saying any of these bad things, it's because he's hurt. Like he's heard about it. Like he's gonna say some things that he doesn't like, because not every situation is 100% perfect. So, like, now that he's not on the Spurs, he didn't have to be the face of the franchise anymore and say all the nice things. Because if he was saying those things while he was playing for us, like, that'd just be a weird look, right? It'd be like, he's not happy in San Antonio. But, like, now he's not with us, he can air out some of those things that he didn't enjoy. And, like, that's just how it is. And I don't know. It just takes, like, a lot of emotional maturity on both ends to just kind of understand these situations.
Yeah, especially if you're the Spurs, or if you're the Spurs organization, or if you're a Spurs fan, and we just got our reputation kicked in the butt, man, with the Josh Primo stuff. But at the beginning of the year too, it's like just take into the account that you want the respect, and we've earned so much respect over the years, and blah blah blah. But you just have to be able to look at yourself and say, okay, there's things that we fall short on, and we'll try. We have a high standard, obviously. So let's just keep trying to live up to that standard and acknowledge that sometimes it doesn't go 100%, like you just said. And it may be in Dejounte's case, not that there was anything inappropriate. There was just things that he felt weren't the best. You know what I'm saying? And that's all right.
Yeah, no kidding. It's one of those things where for myself it does get a little frustrating because it's like people can't be like just a little bit negative without others thinking that it's like full on hate, you know? And it is one of those things where like again, you can criticize DeJounte for some of those things for sure, but that doesn't mean that DeJounte was like ever like denouncing the San Antonio Spurs or anything like that. You know,
Yeah,
he
and
always
oh, go ahead. My bad.
well, just felt like at anytime it steered towards him saying like something like that, I feel like he always tried to come back with another thing to say. Oh, I love San Antonio. I loved what
Yeah,
they did for me and stuff
in
like
the
that.
Steven Jackson thing, he was like that too, right? Like he had equal sides and he kind of, and he didn't like sugarcoat it either. He said it like, even though I feel this way, I also feel this way. Like he framed it in that way too. I feel in the Steven Jackson interview and in these short little clips that he did yesterday. Like he put it right out there and said like it's both. You know what I mean? Like at
Exactly.
least from when I listened to him talk. Because I agree with Juan. I think that I think he is very intelligent, right? And he puts a lot of thought into his craft. He puts a lot of thought into his impact that he makes for his family and the things that he has to navigate as a professional athlete. I think that he thinks about the changes in his life and all that. I think he just you could tell he's a very thoughtful person. So, you know, when he speaks, I'll listen. You know what I'm saying? I won't disregard I won't disregard the things that he says. So when he says things that maybe are a little scorned, you know, you just got to dig a little deeper on that.
Hmm.
But I get it from the Spurs fans. I mean, it does feel like most of the things that people want to say about us are not from the basketball on the basketball court, right? It's like we do so many we've done so many good things on the basketball court, and it got talked about, a little, and it gets talked about now as an old good thing a little, but it's like, okay, so we didn't get all the praise like some of these other people do on the court, and then we do get our like Spurs way starts to come out, and then now it's like every time we come around, people just want to talk about. Try to knock that down a little bit, right? Like attack our character a little bit. So I can see it, like, you want to get defensive over it and stuff like that, but it still is, I would say, as good as everybody says it is around the NBA. Just know that it's not perfect, and that's okay.
Hmm.
You know.
And I feel like there's also the other side to that of yes, like the Spurs or the fans are trying to defend their team, but also sometimes it feels like the fans are trying to be a little too entitled to the team, and it's
Oh, big
like
time.
that
Big time.
that's like a whole nother can of worms that like again like it can be a little frustrating to look at when you're just seeing so many people hate on one person when it's like bro, like they did not even like direct their attack to the Spurs that heavily. You know, they just said one thing and you feel like that's a personal attack. So again, like that's another can of worms that I'm not gonna get too far into. But it is something that just to wrap things up, like I'm excited to see DeJounte back in San Antonio. I know he's got a lot of love for us, and I have a lot of love for DeJounte too. And it is one of those things where, yeah, I could be a little happy about like how the Hawks are having their downfall and all this stuff, and we're gonna get those picks. It's gonna be so great. But it also makes me feel for DeJounte because it's like, man, I know he did not want to get put in a position like that where Trey Young is having like his fit with the front office and Nate McMillan and all of the Hawks dysfunction through this year. I know DeJounte did not want to be put in a position that he's in like that from the trade, like
Yeah.
at face value kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
But also, like, you get to see, okay, I left this place and because the winning timeline was not lining up with where my ascension is and blah blah blah, blah all that stuff, right? Okay, well, now you moved on to a place that theoretically does match your timeline better. They have more pieces ready to do more things, and look at all the things that still could go wrong, right? So you just get to see how it's tough. No matter where you are, what your position looks like on paper, it's tough to put it all together. You know what I'm saying? And you need a little bit of both. You need the talent and you need the foundation. So right now the Spurs for a long time had both, and right now we have to rely on our foundation more so than the players, and maybe they have more of the players and less of the foundation over there in Atlanta.
Plus, he could just leave.
And
Exactly.
yeah, yeah, no kidding. And
That as soon as the trade happened, and they signed, and the way you just looked at it is like, okay, they'll reissue Seattle their own team in the next 2 or 3 years, and Dejounte will go be the head of the snake for years to come, and probably be content with that, no matter what they however they go.
And then I guess the last thing I want to talk about is just like his actual play on the court. I haven't been able to watch like a lot of Hawks games. Not that I've really wanted to watch a lot of Hawks games, but I have watched a couple things here and there, and I've seen people that are a little bit more knowledgeable than me talk about Dejounte on the court, and I feel like they're saying a lot of the stuff that we felt like Dejounte was before he became an all-star, and it was like one of those things where he needs the ball in his hands and he's not amazing off the ball. So, like, it limits his offensive capabilities when Trae Young is the primary ball handler. And we're not going to be able to see that if Trae Young's not playing today. But, like, that is one thing that I was thinking about, too. Just like,
no Trae Young. Dejounte is going to try to go for 40.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Ball
DeJounte's
in
going
his
to be,
ball in his hand every possession. He's going to try to go for 40. No doubt.
exactly. And
That'd be fun to watch.
it'll, yeah.
But I
But,
want to see our guys stop him. I want to see our guys take that challenge. Like,
Yeah.
you're not gonna put 40 on.
The Devin Booker, Jay Crowder matchup, or in the middle of the game, or the all-star like Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum kind of
Jason
stuff. Like,
Tatum, right?
yeah, I would love to see a Dejounte, Keldon Johnson, or Devin Vassell, and the crowd just, gets loud, and then so Dejounte goes okay, and then backs up a little bit, and then the crowd gets louder, and I'd love, and I don't care who scores. To be honest, it's like, let's go. I want to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so I'm excited for the on-court play as well. Again, I was just talking about what his plays look like through the season, and they've also said that he's taking a dip defensively, which is interesting. That's something that we will be able to see if any of our guys are like, not, I don't want to say clowning Dejounte, but like if any of our guys are having their way against Dejounte, then that'll be something I'm like, okay, maybe he did stop putting as much effort defensively, or whatever the case may be, So
I don't know. I know steals aren't a indication of like on ball defense, but if like somebody said 4.5 steals over or under, I'd probably go over for Dejounte Murray. I feel like he's gonna try to rip our guys every chance he gets.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. And he's definitely you definitely know that like every single player that has played against San Antonio after they were a former Spurs player, they go off. They always find a way to like go off. And this is finally us playing against an all-star going on again, like playing against us like that. So it'll be a fun game. I'm excited. It's at 3:00 today. Oh, do you think I remember that?
What did he ask?
How did Tony Parker do when he played against us?
Oh, I don't know. You talking about it was Charlotte?
In Charlotte, yeah, when he was in Charlotte.
Yeah, right. Let me look.
I'm excited for this. I think Dejounte is going to come out like guns a blazing and doing everything he can to win this game. So it'll be fun to watch. I have no ill will towards Dejounte, and I'm really excited to see like if Keldon and Devin can take that challenge against him and try to match him.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
It'll be fun.
I wish we had Jeremy. That's the only one, because Jeremy's a dog too, right? So
yeah,
that would be great. But
Jeremy versus John Collins.
Well, just another body
John
out there. I
Collins
mean, like
cooked.
Yeah, Jeremy against Dejounte.
Yeah, exactly. Like Jeremy would be the one to get at Dejounte and actually like kind of bark at him, whereas Keldon and them will defend him, and then it's just all love, and not that it wouldn't be like that with Jeremy, but there's just 1 degree removed. I don't know you as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to stop you, and that's all there is to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I could that would have been like top tier right there. But we'll settle for the today. Will be I would imagine today's gonna be very friendly, very cordial. It's a Sunday. It's the afternoon. Everybody's in a like. I think it's gonna be pretty tame, and there's not gonna be a lot of like drama. Especially with a
for
guy
sure.
like like who the only other guy who would like bring drama would be like Zach Collins. You know what I'm saying? Zach Collins is another guy who will push a guy, and every now and then he'll push a guy, and you're like, "What are you doing?" You're like, "Chill." You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? You like his fire, but every now and then his shot selection with his beef is a little.
Hmm. When they got when he got ejected, was this week, right? Was it?
I think it was last week. Yeah, after
It was
the
last week. It
Denver,
was
right?
last week.
Yeah.
The Denver game, man. Yeah, that was something else. That was something else. I enjoyed it though. Well, as you do wrap it up, guys, is there any lasting thoughts? Obviously, we only really talked about the one game, but like anything that you want to see from this week. I already kind of talked about like I want to see more defense from Devin. That's like my biggest thing that I want to take away. So, is there anything from this last week that you saw that you want to like improve upon for this next week?
Um, I guess I just want to see us like if we have all our bodies like continue to just play well. Um, I don't know if you're really into like that team tank stuff. Having the worst record in the league like means you'll drop no further than number 5, so you're guaranteed a top 5 pick. But like when you're number 2, you can go all the way like I think to 6 or 7. When if you're 3, you can go to like 7, 8, 9. Like it is kind of crazy like that, but let it fall where it falls. And like at this point, like I just want to see our guys just play some good ball. Like it's exciting to watch them play well. And then it is so frustrating to watch these games when like everybody is out. But hey, if we win tonight or today, then expect everybody to be out the next game because that's how it's
Yeah.
been all year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
Christian, and
in terms of like projecting forward, like that's kind of how it is. That's how I view the season too. Like it's tough to think about games as an individual matchup because you just don't know who's going to be out there. So I mean, we got the Hawks today, Pelicans Tuesday, back to back. We get Bucks the next day, both on the road, and then finish off on Friday with Washington. So like 3 games on the road. We'll see who's going to be out there. You know what I'm saying? So I'm with Juan. I would love for us to still feel like at least for these 4 games that at least 2 of them has rosters where you feel like, okay, good, we have good production from 1 through 10 or 11. Whether we win the game or not, who knows? But like at least you can get out there and start to run things and see how things are going to move. And you know what I mean? Like that's all I want to see too. I want to see health from our guys. I want to see what kind of lessons can we learn if we find ourselves in a close game against Milwaukee? Can we show, even if we lose the game, can we show that we learned something from a Dallas overtime loss or a Memphis overtime loss? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's all I want to see. I want to see that we're putting our best foot forward every day. Also, you can tell when Pop's trying to win a game because that dude would actually call timeouts where that matter and all that kind of stuff too. So, you know what I mean? The same thing, like Pop is we're coming down to the last handful of games. We still don't really know what Pop's future looks like, so I want to see him up and doing his thing. You know what I'm saying? I just want to see us be the Spurs for the next month. You know what I mean? And then we'll go from there. So.
mm-hmm. No, that sounds good, y'all. That sounds good. Well, we do come to you guys every Sunday at the 10 a.m.s, where we go live on all 3 platforms of Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can catch us on all 3 platforms when we're going live, and if you can't catch us whenever we are live, you can watch the VODs on all 3 platforms shortly thereafter. Make sure that you do follow us on Twitter at Heroes Half Court. Even though I was ranting about it earlier, we love having the engagement with the Spurs Twitter base. We never shy away from people that have differing opinions. We love having that type of discourse because anybody and everybody's entitled to how they feel, how they think about the San Antonio Spurs. But with that being said, y'all, I hope everybody has a wonderful week. We are in the middle of March Madness. That's why this thing was called March Sadness, because the Spurs lost a couple games. My Texas Tech basketball team are in shambles right now, and I guess Juan's showing his true colors right now with his horns. but NTC, right? No, so go.
UTSA just had like 6 or 7 people into the transfer portal.
Oh no.
I was looking at that too. I was looking at what that whole little situation's looking like, and their football team's good, but like the basketball team's just like also in shambles. Like nothing's looking too bright with like the coaching and whatever the case may be for the UTSA basketball team. So, um, again, March Sadness all around because even though exciting college basketball, my team's not winning, and I'm sad. But I hope everybody enjoys their March Madness. Obviously, as Juan's brother, I will be somewhat rooting for TCU, somewhat rooting for the Longhorns. We'll
Mhm.
be hoping to see them do well. I did see Texas A&M lose, which made me happy. But um, other
Agreed.
than that, I hope everybody has a wonderful week. I hope everybody has a blessed Sunday. And with that being said, y'all, you have a wonderful day. And we are out.
Like
Peace.